Welcome back to the Backwards History Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Will, here with my co-host, Kevin. Say hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Shut up, Kevin.
No way to talk to the birthday boy.
It's not your birthday by the time this is published.
Well, I live in the here and now, so right now it is.
So, then it won't be. By the time people are hearing this, it won't be your birthday.
Well, you're talking about things that have yet to come.
Or is it in the past? Because when does it really live? Does it live? Does a podcast live when people hear it, or does it live when it's recorded?
You're getting deep and philosophical on me there.
And I'm getting off topic.
Tiny bit.
Before we go into the topic, I want you to go do those social media thingy things. Go like, share, subscribe. Go give us a review on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating or whatever stars. I don't care if you like us or not. Because one of our listeners did tell us that we kind of apologized too much on a recent episode. So I'd like to take this moment right now to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Yeah, ditto on that one.
But
you chose to listen to us.
Right. And we chose to record just because we feel like it, because we're not even monetizing this stuff yet. But actually, I'd like to announce that we are trying to start a merch store. Get some t-shirts out there, mostly because we want to wear t-shirts with our own junk on it, but you guys are welcome to jump on it. We'll share the link when we do have it. And soon, the voting and nominations for the People's Choice Podcast Awards will be coming up, and we're going to need you guys' help.
Need some love, y'all.
But we will definitely give y'all the information on where to go do that once the voting actually opens up. But as Kevin was talking about, it is currently, but your past, Kevin's birthday. We're recording this on Friday the 3rd.
That's it.
And, it's Kevin's birthday. And tomorrow will be America's birthday. But that's not going to be the subject of this episode.
No.
We want to talk about something that actually just randomly popped up in my head when I realized it was Kevin's birthday tomorrow, because I thought about it on Thursday.
Fair.
I wanted to know, where are traditions that we generally have as Americans? I don't know if these are traditions outside of the U.S. currently, but we have the cake and the candles and things of that nature. And pretty much it's a general rule that everybody does at least a few of those things. They may have different cultural things that they do, but as Americans, we do those things. I just want to get into why we actually do those things. Kevin.
And that was a really good point you brought up when you messaged me about kind of breaking from the norm, but also sticking with explaining traditions. To our listeners who have been with us for a while, you've gone through our series, The Pagan Roots. This will kind of be a revisit to that in many ways.
Because the pagan roots are over, Kevin.
I know, that's why I said it's a revisit. We're just kind of touching on some
it's only revisit just because they so happen to be pagan in origin.
Right. We've done episodes that discuss traditions, why things are the way they are, why we say, why we do, and things like that. And our birthday traditions are no exception to the rule. As I mentioned in episodes previously, celebrating birthdays on a historic scale is a recent phenomenon. It's not something that's been with us for a very long time. And historians measure long time in different divisions of time differently. It's one of those things. 200 years isn't a long time for a historian.
Okay, so 32 years isn't a long time, you old man?
We're the same age, okay? You tell me. But anyway, as Will mentioned, it is my birthday. 32.
I think we've mentioned it too many times.
There's never such thing as too many. Not enough, but there's not too many. But birthday traditions are something, there's really no historic consensus on when and where it started. But there are certainly many different aspects across time that have tied into what we can consider birthday celebrations. The oldest recorded goes back to ancient Egyptians, and they would celebrate the pharaoh's birthday, but that's not the day he was physically born. It's the day of his coronation, where he's reborn, if you will, as a god.
Or his life as a god begins. So his birth.
In the Egyptian culture, the pharaoh was seen as a living god. So the day he ascends to the throne, the day of his coronation, is the day he starts his life as a god. So that's the day of his rebirth. That's the day we're going to celebrate. Hey, the pharaoh, he became the pharaoh on this day. We were blessed. We're going to celebrate this.
You said living god. I thought Vigo. Ghostbusters 2 reference.
Ghostbusters 2 for the win. Anyway, you fast forward a little bit. The Greeks, who had a lot of interaction with the Egyptians, they kind of add to the tradition of birthday celebrations. They give us some of the earliest recorded instances of actually adding candles to cakes. Now, this wasn't done to celebrate birthdays, but they were put on moon-shaped cakes as a tribute to the lunar goddess Artemis. And the candles were added to give it a glowing kind of vibe, aesthetics, really.
Were they like moon-shaped cakes as in circular cakes, or were they moon-shaped cakes like crescent cakes?
I'm going to go with yes.
Because I'm going to be really disappointed if I ever find out that they were just circular cakes. And they're like, oh, it's shaped like a moon. No, dude, it's a circle.
That does seem kind of lazy, doesn't it?
Right?
Right.
I mean, it would kind of fit the bill, but it's lazy.
And it does seem like, it's the moon. No, it's a circle.
Right.
So that's the earliest recording we have of cakes with lit candles. Now, as we all know, the Romans took a lot from the Greeks. Pretty much everything. And, hey, we're going to give it a new name and we'll call it our own. Sound familiar? Anyway, the Romans start with the celebrating of birthdays, but really only for the dudes. Sorry, ladies. This is one where the males are seen as, I guess, more important in society.
Be careful, Kevin. We may be hit by it's the patriarchy cancel culture.
I don't care.
Sorry, I had to put that in there.
And that's where it starts to become more of a tradition for the individual, as opposed to like gods and deities and political and religious figures. Well, after the Catholic Church comes along and converts everybody, either willingly or by force,
as Catholics tend to do.
They do have a long history of it. Those are facts, not opinions.
From the Reformed Catholic.
Well, I've been over this with you. Anyway, the Catholics saw the celebration of birthdays as too closely tied to paganism, because it'd been with the Egyptians, the Greeks, and the Romans, which are all polytheistic societies, meaning worshiping more than one god. For those of you who didn't know, I'm not assuming. I'm just pointing out. You know what happens when we assume. Anyway, the Catholics are like, no, that's too closely tied to paganism. We're not gonna celebrate that. Everybody's born with original sin, so it's not so much as important as the day you were born, as so much as the day you were reborn in Christ.
Okay, so the Catholic Church drew the line at birthdays as being too closely tied to paganism. Mm-hmm. If you go back for the listeners and listen to all the other pagan things that the Catholic Church said, oh, hey, we like that. We're going to adopt that right on in.
Incorporate that in real quick.
And they draw the line at birthdays. Really?
The irony is a bit overwhelming, I'll be honest with you.
That's kind of ridiculous.
But yeah, birthdays were just this thing of
So I guess to the Catholic Church, and this is to my gamer friends, the cake is a lie.
The cake is a lie. So you fast forward, the Industrial Revolution comes along, about 1750, give or take a decade or two. And this is when you have the first mass production of all kinds of goods, including birthday cakes. So now people are able to afford birthday cakes, so we start to see the tradition evolve of, okay, well, I can afford to celebrate my birthday and my husband, my wife, my children, aunts, uncles, so on and so forth. So the tradition really starts to take off about the 18th, 19th century.
We can celebrate them by making them fat.
Exactly. And we've been doing it ever since, at least in America. One thing that really intrigued me in the research I did on traditions and history of birthdays was the Happy Birthday song. It has a bit of a unique history behind it. It was written, supposedly it's tied up in a bit of controversy by two sisters out of Louisville, Kentucky, about 1893 or so. They were the Hill sisters, if I'm not mistaken. One was a school teacher, so she wrote a song to sing to her students when they came into classroom called Good Morning to You. And typically when a child had a birthday and they were at school, they were kind of singing in a birthday-style fashion. Well, about 1924, a songbook's produced that has the song Good Morning to You, but it's actually the publisher changes some lyrics around, and given a few decades, it catches on as a Happy Birthday song, which up until about 2016 was actually copyrighted, but now it's part of the public domain, so everybody can use it, so you don't have to worry about singing Happy Birthday anymore and getting charged any kind of fee.
I've never heard of anyone getting charged a fee. We are 32 years old. People have sang it to us every year we were born. Every year we were born. Every year of our birthday. And no one's ever got caught a fine.
It's one of those things where when I was researching, I was like, what? Someone had a copyright on this?
If someone ever really tried to enforce that copyright by lawsuit, get laughed out of the courtroom.
I don't think you'd ever make it to the court.
Actually, you might. People are so crazy, and some judges are
fair point.
Are hard up.
But it is part of the public domain now. But just the idea that you could be singing a Happy Birthday song and someone like, oh, you owe me this amount of money for using my material. Now, Happy Birthday is the most recognized English song in the world, which once I heard that, like, well, that makes a lot of sense, Literally everybody knows it. And if they don't, that's just a sad existence. But up until 2016, the Happy Birthday song was copyrighted.
Now, does that only count as the Happy Birthday song in English?
That's a good point. I think it does.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how copyright laws are internationally. I imagine they get pretty messy, a lot of red tape and all this and that, and I think I don't have to deal with that.
That's why I never became a copyright lawyer.
Among the other reasons, I didn't know it was a job that existed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, there you have it. Traditions of our birthday celebrations is one that, like many of our traditions, is taken from so many different backgrounds, cultures, people, and has changed and evolved over time. And who knows where it'll go in the future.
So you are all guilty of cultural appropriation, and you should be ashamed of yourselves.
Way to go.
Right. I'm having way too much fun poking this bear, bro.
I thought you might.
So moving on.
Hopefully.
This is the Tuesday following the 244th birthday of what I feel is the greatest country on earth.
Second.
While we may have our problems,
or a few,
we may have lost 4 city blocks to a small country for a small amount of time, but it has been reclaimed just before Independence Day.
Quite effectively, I might add, too.
Who knew Soy Boys would back down when Popo came walking in?
Yeah, who could have saw that coming?
I know. I'm starting to sound like a conservative saying Soy Boys.
A little bit.
Am I wrong, though? Are you? I don't care what they think. I care what you think.
I think you're just, telling it like it is.
I mean, when your leader's a SoundCloud rapper, you gotta know it ain't long until, it's time to go home.
I mean, they did request vegan style supplies,
and they did say soy based food. So I guess they literally gave everyone ammo to call them Soy Boys.
Yeah, that's a fair assumption.
So, but joking aside, we may have our problems. We may have our overreach in the government that we were supposed to rein in, but we have no one to blame but ourselves on that. But regardless of all of that, we all still live in a pretty awesome place.
Oh, yeah.
We all still benefit from this pretty awesome place. Mm-hmm. Things can get pretty stupid sometimes, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Same.
And if it ever came time to defend it here at home, pick up a rifle and follow me.
Let's go.
Right? But if you're a long-time listener, you know that we have a George Washington Funko Pop sitting on the desk for while we're recording.
Since day one.
Keep us on the straight and narrow. Thing I think about every time I see George Washington, and I think about the 4th of July, think about Independence Day, the Declaration of Independence, and its signing. These guys believed in this, what we currently sit in. For those of you who are foreign listeners, I'm sorry. This is going to be American-centric right now.
I'm not sorry.
Okay, also not sorry, yeah.
Don't lie, Will.
They crossed a frozen river on Christmas to slit men's throats while they slept as a means to try and ensure that this is the way it is, or that it existed at all.
Right.
I'd say that spirit still exists. I hope.
I definitely hope.
Should it ever be needed again?
I hope it's not needed, but yeah.
I hope it's never needed. Ever. Ever. But if it is, let's go.
No hesitation.
On a final note, if you live in this country and you benefit from this country, you benefit by all of the things it has to offer, especially social programs, and you hate this country, what is wrong with you? How can you hate exactly what's giving you what you need to survive?
You know, the old adage of love it or leave it.
Right. Bite the hand that feeds you.
Right.
But, That's just my soapbox post 4th of July. We weren't able to put out a 4th of July episode. We wanted to do something a little after the fact, but you know how we are. We never want you to take our word as fact, to believe that we're experts, because we're not.
Nope.
We always want you to do your own research, form your own opinion, trust, but verify.